So the Russo brothers are teasing clues in these, Avengers Doomsday teasers, trailers, whatever. Did Cyclops grow some Wolverine mutton chops? Because Jean Grey likes it? I don't know. Marvel Studios has cranked the hype for Avengers Doomsday into overdrive, alongside the official release of the recent trailer, which features Fantastic Four's Thing, Namor, and the Warriors of Wakanda. Okay, I mean, you couldn't say, like Fantastic Four and Black Panther return, and no, it just said Wakanda return. Okay, whatever. The Russo brothers have returned to the spotlight, teasing that the footage fans have been watching may hold more than meets the eye. Wow, they're going to bring the Transformers into it. Anyway, what you've been watching for the last 4 weeks are not teasers or trailers. They are stories. They are clues. Pay attention, because there's going to be a quiz. One of the things you've come to know about Marvel, there's a lot of homework. Yeah. There's stories. See, they got to make up for what the previous movies didn't do. Like they did for Infinity War. There was a lot of groundwork laid in the other movies. Teases, within movies that were solid unto themselves. But they weren't able to do that this time around. They were too busy farting around with, I don't know, and then reshooting the crap out of those because, I don't know, they didn't have anything. Now here you are, desperate for people. Come on back, guys. Marvel is still the bee's knees and all that. Well, the post is accompanied by the hashtag Doomsday has begun, setting the stage for a deeper mystery surrounding the film, which has had no development. On the back end, ass backwards, they'll weave it in and say, you thought that movie was about this, but it was really about this, or that, or whatever. No, it's too late for that. The Doomsday film might be fun unto itself, and you got all the old network stars doing the Battle of the Network Stars and all that. Hey, look, remember from that? Yeah. I guess that'll just have to be enough. Already the big reveal, who is Dr. Doom? He's Robert Downey Jr. You had to do that. Because if you just put Dr. Doom in there and you make a big deal about it, the Marvel fans would know, but the overall movie-going audience, you didn't develop Dr. Doom the way you did Thanos. So, you were trying to do that with Kang, but then you ran into troubles and you just scrapped it when you probably should have recast it. But there again, you weren't developing him well at all either. That's nothing about the actor. Of course, his own scandal caused problems, but yeah, you were stumbling and farting around, and now here you are, trying to do this Hail Mary pass, when you'll still be down, several scores, 10 to 20, at the bottom of the fourth quarter, so, pay attention, boy, that doesn't come across very well. So adding fuel to the speculation, Marvel has activated a doomsday countdown clock on its official YouTube channel. The ominous timer overlaid on a shadowy Avengers egg glowing with green energy is counting down to December 18th, 2026, the official theatrical release of Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, and a lot of these designs looks like the room that Kang was in, or the He Who Remains, and all that variant of him. And then, of course, Loki ended up replacing him. So Loki plays a pivotal role in this. So you have, if you did your homework, you'll recognize some elements of these from the Loki show, which played a role in the Deadpool movie. But the Deadpool movie was just those two guys getting together and having fun, and that was it. So they're going to try to do that on a much bigger scale with Avengers Doomsday, and gee, I hope it works, and it might, but it'll work just for the movie in and of itself, because that's what happened for Deadpool. Deadpool, it cracked $1 billion. Yeah, Marvel's back. No, that was good for Deadpool. So Avengers Doomsday might crack $1 billion. That's good for Avengers Doomsday. And you're right back in the toilet where you were. So anyway, with the cast already confirmed to include massive MCU and multiverse players, you know the deal. Now fans are combing through every frame of every teaser looking for the clues. The Russo's hinted at. One thing is clear. Marvel's Tuesday has officially begun. So, well, can't really see what's going on here. But in the Wakanda one where they meet Ben Grimm, it looks like they're wandering around in the Limbo world that was featured prominently in the Loki series and in Deadpool Wolverine. So my guess is that's where they are, and they run into Ben Grimm and probably the rest of the Fantastic Four and that sort of thing. Because people from other realities are going to end up there. So if you did the homework, that won't come as too big of a shock. But a lot of people didn't do the homework. So, so that's the Wakanda thing. As for what clues and teases was there for the X-Men, where, well, you show a devastated, well, somewhat, it's pretty messed up, X-Men mansion, and you've got Xavier and Magneto sitting there, and looks like they're best of buds again, and all that sort of stuff. But something terrible has happened, and so they got to go into one more battle. And probably, well, not probably, it's something Doctor Doom did has resulted in this. And then you see Cyclops taking his goggles off and blasting his eyes with his, beams. And suspect something really awful has happened to Jean Grey, and he's devastated. And that's the case. And so he's really gunning to get revenge on what happened. And so you can speculate on that. And that's probably the deal for the X-Men universe, and that it's doomed, thanks to Doom. And then, of course, the Fantastic Four just now introduced, so it really doesn't hold the weight that the likes of X-Men did and all that. But nevertheless, they're going to repeat the multiverse shenanigans that they started with Spider-Man. Thor, I don't know. He's in that forest. Is he back in Norway and he's praying to his dead father, wanting tips on how to raise a little girl, which is where he was left at the end of that god-awful Love and Thunder movie, which again, had a great plot, but they screwed it all up with their idiot joke. And then it had, well, a great plot, except for the massive plot hole at the ending. Pretty stupid. But anyway, that's it. But where is he? What's this for? Okay. And then Steve Rogers, where is he? He's back in the past. He married, Peggy, and they had a child. That's where he is. But what does it have to do? One of the leaks, and there's probably something to it, that Steve Rogers changing time, which he did when he went back there. He was supposed to return the Infinity Stones, which he did, but instead of coming back to his own time, he decided to stay in the past, reunite with Peggy, marry her, and live out his life with her. We already knew what became of her. It seems she succumbed to dementia, and died. And they mentioned a husband, but we never knew who he was. We now know that was Steve Rogers. So, you got the time travel element there. And it was the means by which they ended the Steve Rogers story. We never saw him die, so Old Man Steve, maybe Old Man Steve will make an appearance here and realize, did he have an encounter with Doom or something of that nature? But him messing with the timeline, which never came up in the Loki show, which was all about messing with the timeline and stuff like that, because Loki himself is a variant that shouldn't exist, but he was created by Endgame. So there's also the theories that Endgame and the post-Endgame era, which no one really likes, will be wiped clean. And there'll be a reset. So, more than likely, yes. So, something of that nature would occur. And that's why you have this reunion of the characters that people care about. What does this have to do with Robert Downey Jr. playing the role? Are they going to, it's Tony, are they going to do anything like that? Will they reveal that, yes, there was an alternate Tony, and Doctor Doom took him over, which his ability does have in the comics. He can switch bodies with people. He did it with Reed Richards and so on. Or they're just going to retcon and rewrite the story where an evil Tony Stark becomes Doctor Doom. And that's not the story. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You'll get the real Doctor Doom later after the reboot. And hoping the Fantastic Four bombed, and they're hoping to have a franchise out of that with a successful Fantastic Four franchise would be at least 2 more Fantastic Four movies. I don't know. You have this moment in the Wakanda teaser where Ben Grimm shows, oh, look, it's Ben Grimm. Most of the people don't know. They didn't go see the movie. And you just introduced them. And that's the odd thing about it. It's like I've been saying it all along. The Fantastic Four movie, the plot for it, it's the kind of thing you would do for a Fantastic Four Part 3. You bring in Galactus. But they did that in the first one. So, it really is a franchise that's run out of time. So I guess the ticking clock is appropriate overall. But, oh man, it is a Hail Mary pass. They had to bring an aircraft carrier load of money for Robert Downey Jr. to come back. And that's the deal. And then everybody else, gee, I hope you'll show up. Won't it be fun? Well, at best, it might be fun to go watch that. But again, does that save everything? Well, there's another movie, Secret Wars, that follows this, which may or may not be split into 2, so that gives them 3 movies. But is that enough to get people all excited? And maybe Secret Wars will start to introduce the new young cast that will take on these roles. I'm pretty convinced that Sadie Sink from Stranger Things is the new Jean Grey. But, from another... Or she could be the Jean Grey for the MCU. It was there all along. You just didn't know about it. And, of course, the X-Men we knew from the Fox films, well, they're from the Fox universe. And this will be their final outing. And that sort of thing. Maybe some of them will survive and they'll go back to their universe or whatever. Who knows? But nevertheless, the new X-Men will appear. And there is this plan that the X-Men will take center stage of MCU going forward. For a while anyway. We haven't seen them in a while. Certainly not in an MCU iteration. So, okay, but hopefully the delivery and that this is the jumping off point for their new MCU can survive this. But man, did you dig yourselves a hole. Can they pull it off? Well, maybe. I'll give it to them. They've still got a better chance than Star Wars does. So, but still, these franchises, they keep either digging a deep, deep hole or they build a Mount Everest hill to climb to succeed. We'll see what happens.